Every bar that Drake said
That math
means
is not
nothing
mathing.
anymore in a dropping game.
Brace yourselves, everyone, because the battle between Drake and Kendrick Lamar just took a turn nobody saw coming. For months, Drake's been shouting that Kendrick's chart-topping success is fueled by sneaky industry schemes.
It's a bunch of middlemen controlling the market.
Meanwhile, Kendrick has stayed silent, effortlessly climbing the charts with tracks that seem to blow up overnight. But now, Spotify's massive crackdown on fake streams has rocked the music world and revealed something that will leave you speechless.
Wow.
There are middlemen saying this is what diamonds cost.
Trust me, the numbers don't lie, unless, of course, someone's been faking them. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly who that might be. Drake's supporters have spent ages proclaiming him the misunderstood victim, convinced the music industry is coddling Kendrick Lamar. They argue the meteoric rise of songs like Not Like Us and Luther Squabble Up can't possibly be natural, swearing some master puppeteer is boosting Kendrick's streams. Meanwhile, Kendrick's followers see the entire conversation as wild paranoia, pointing to the organic buzz, the cultural crossover, and the massive demand for Kendrick's artistry. So, how did we get here? Let's rewind. Drake built a narrative that he's a lonely warrior fighting a system rigged against him. He claims the powers that be are conspiring to shower Kendrick with attention and forcibly push Drake aside. It's the kind of story that grabs headlines, one big underdog facing a colossal machine. But ask yourself, if Drake is so oppressed, why does he still rake in millions of streams? Why are his fan bases on high alert, ready to swarm comment sections at the slightest nudge? Kendrick, on the other hand, has never bragged or whined about numbers. He simply drops music that resonates with people far beyond the hip-hop sphere. But those in Drake's corner just can't accept that. They insist these dazzling achievements are too good to be true. According to them, there must be corporate meddling, shady deals, or hidden tactics fueling Kendrick's dominance. At least, that's the story they've been banking on until now. But wait, because the biggest twist yet is about to roll in, and it's going to explode this entire victim narrative. In one of the most significant moves in recent music history, Spotify decided to purge its platform of fishy streaming practices. They scanned for suspicious playlist placements, artificial play counts, and anything else that might inflate an artist's position on the charts. Basically, if you were faking it, Spotify was going to find out. Drake's fans braced themselves for a grand vindication. They truly believed this purge would expose Kendrick Lamar once and for all, showing that Not Like Us and Luther Squabble Up were stuffed with phantom streams. Drake's insiders whispered that they couldn't wait to see Kendrick's stats crumble. But when Spotify wiped away manipulated numbers, guess which streams didn't budge? Kendrick's. That's right, no huge drops, no dramatic adjustments, just steady, unaffected data. Every claim that Kendrick was cheating the system collapsed under the cold, hard facts. Meanwhile, Drake's own streaming figures showed tiny shifts in certain spots, enough to raise eyebrows about how organic his success really is. He might not have lost millions of plays, but even small signs of artificial boosts are enough to erode trust. And the irony? Drake's entire campaign rested on the accusation that Kendrick was the one exaggerating popularity. Turns out that story wasn't just shaky, it was baseless. But wait, this is only the beginning of Drake's troubles, because his latest single is under intense scrutiny too. Now we arrive at Nokia, the track Drake's camp has touted as his next big smash. It was introduced as the single the rap world desperately needed, something to rival all the buzz around Kendrick's wave of chart toppers. Right from the start, the rollout had a suspiciously choreographed feel, popular playlists featuring Nokia at prime positions, influencers dancing to it in near-identical trends, and fans directed to push it online with urgent enthusiasm. Suddenly, influencers who barely mentioned Drake before went full cheerleader, praising Nokia as some revolutionary masterpiece. It's not shocking for big artists to harness marketing tactics, but the hype around Nokia felt more manufactured than magnetic, especially if you compare it to how Kendrick's songs consistently spread organically, often with zero hints of forced promotion. Even so, Drake's supporters championed Nokia as pure, unstoppable momentum, claiming it proved Drake was back on top without a shred of label meddling. But stats from various streaming platforms told a different story. While Nokia isn't exactly flopping, it's not dominating the charts the way Drake seemed to expect. And with the Spotify purge confirming that Kendrick's stats are clean, the question becomes, If Drake is truly the underdog, why do we see so many signs of deliberate hype building around Nokia? Did you know that songs on Spotify's biggest curated playlists can net tens of millions of extra plays practically overnight? That's how powerful these placements can be if you can secure them. But hang on, because the hypocrisy runs even deeper when we remember what Drake said about Kendrick's fake strategies. For years, Drake insisted Kendrick was winning by rigging the system. He and his fanbase pointed fingers at so-called playlist manipulation, hidden marketing alliances, and more. The irony? Drake now appears to be leaning into those same tactics himself. Remember the time Drake tried to sway public opinion during their beef by pushing polls that magically favored him moments after a new diss track dropped? At the time, it looked bizarre, like someone was desperately trying to rewrite the narrative before the public could form an opinion. Now we see a similar approach with Nokia. Influencers known for championing Drake's rivals suddenly flip and endorse Drake. Social media chatter about Nokia emerges from accounts with questionable authenticity. What do you think? If Drake's been preaching about fairness and organic reach, is it fair game for him to use these behind-the-scenes tactics? Comment your thoughts below, because this is where things get really messy. Meanwhile, Kendrick hasn't uttered a single word about any supposed plotting, nor has he pointed fingers at Drake's suspicious streaming spikes. In fact, Kendrick's team has stayed laser-focused on dropping music and letting fans react. This silent confidence just magnifies Drake's vocal complaints, which are now starting to feel more like deflections than actual grievances. Ready for the biggest blow to Drake's entire story? The data we have next all but demolishes his industry sabotage tale. As Drake grapples with these revelations, Kendrick Lamar's popularity grows, and not just within rap. From mainstream talk shows and late-night comedy sketches to that unforgettable Super Bowl halftime performance, Kendrick's presence is everywhere. His cultural impact crosses boundaries in ways that Drake's narrative of oppression fails to address. Need proof? Multiple comedians, television hosts, and unexpected pop culture icons have referenced Kendrick Lamar's music and achievements over the past year. Whenever a talk show host drops his name, fans from all walks of life pay attention. This consistent spotlight suggests Kendrick's influence extends far beyond favorable playlists or industry perks. People genuinely want to talk about him. In contrast, Drake's repeated claims of sabotage seem less convincing by the day. After all, if there was a grand plot to smother his career, how does he still manage to release music that charts, fills social media feeds, and triggers fan-wide debates? And if Kendrick's success were truly fabricated, wouldn't he struggle to connect with mainstream audiences outside the hip-hop bubble? In today's music world, authenticity is everything. Audiences are quick to sense which artists are propelled by genuine passion and which ones might be leaning on behind-the-scenes deals to keep their numbers afloat. But hold on, because the real meltdown begins when Drake sees just how high Kendrick's numbers have soared and how unstoppable that rise looks now. Let's talk about Drake's recent behavior. Lawsuits, social media rants, cryptic jabs at Kendrick's fanbase. He seems more invested in exposing an imaginary puppet master than in refining his craft. It's becoming the central storyline, Drake versus the entire music industry. And that storyline is wearing thin. For years, Drake rode a wave of authenticity. He was the emotional, relatable rapper whose transparency won hearts worldwide. But lately, the discussion has shifted to how Drake may be inflating his numbers, paying for influencer support, and using any tool he can find to compete with Kendrick. That desperation isn't a good look, especially when you see Kendrick calmly releasing music that topples streaming records without a hint of scandal. According to some industry insiders, streaming manipulation can cost labels anywhere from a few $1,000s to hundreds of thousands, depending on how massive a push they want. If Drake is leveraging these techniques, it could be a sign of how determined he is to reclaim the #1 spot, no matter the price. If Drake is this fixated on dethroning Kendrick, do you think it's helping or hurting his legacy? Let me know in the comments, because in this rap game, illusions fall faster than the beat drops. But unbelievably, there's even more proof that the tide is turning against Drake's narrative. It's no secret that Drake retains an enormous global following, but look closer, and you'll spot a shift. More people are praising Kendrick's artistic depth than ever before, and fewer are buying into Drake's "I'm being sabotaged" mantra. Kendrick's lyrical complexity. Fans love dissecting his verses, finding hidden meanings, and applying them to their own experiences. His cultural relevance. Major events and personalities outside hip-hop keep referencing Kendrick. His genuine approach. No complaints about rigged systems. No frantic attempts to overshadow another artist. Meanwhile, Drake's attention seems glued to charts. His supporters might argue that focusing on numbers is part of the rap tradition, a measure of who's on top. But isn't rap also about resonance, storytelling, and emotional connection? Between interviews, tweets, and behind-the-scenes moves, Drake appears obsessed with overshadowing Kendrick's success rather than stepping up with fresh material that speaks for itself. But stay tuned, because the final piece of evidence might be the biggest blow yet to Drake's Woe Is Me campaign. With the Spotify purge confirming Kendrick's streams are legit, Drake's conspiracy theories look weaker than ever. He might still try to spin a new angle, maybe claiming other streaming platforms are propping Kendrick up, or that undisclosed radio deals are boosting his rival's numbers. But the fact remains, Spotify found no signs of inflated streams for Kendrick Lamar. Here's the million-dollar question. Does Drake double down on the victim narrative, or does he step back to focus on creating something truly groundbreaking? Because, as much as fans love the theatrics, people can spot desperation, and nothing kills hype faster than the smell of inauthentic claims. Kendrick, meanwhile, is marching forward at full speed. New releases, critical acclaim, mainstream features, he's earning attention across multiple cultural spheres. With every fresh accomplishment, the gap between these two artists widens. If Drake wants to close that gap, it may require ditching the conspiracies and returning to what made him a household name in the first place, his music. We're witnessing a defining moment in hip-hop. The era of massive behind-the-scenes manipulations is being exposed by platforms tightening their guardrails. And in that spotlight, those who thrive on real fan connection will keep soaring, while those relying on illusions risk crashing hard. So now you know, every claim that Kendrick's chart success is rigged just got shredded by cold, hard data. Kendrick's numbers remain untouched, while Drake's claims of sabotage lie in ruins. And that leaves us with one final query. Is Drake ready to leave the bitterness behind and compete solely on the quality of his work? Or will he keep clinging to the worn-out narrative of an industry plot against him? Before you go, here's something to chew on. Rumor has it, Drake is gearing up for another aggressive marketing push soon. Will it succeed now that fans know how these tactics work? Or has the curtain been lifted for good? If you want to see how this all unravels, stay tuned, because I have a feeling the next move Drake tries might be his biggest gamble yet. And remember, folks, in this rap game, illusions fall faster than the beat drops. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Who's really at the top of the hip-hop throne right now, and why do you think they earned it? Let's fire up this conversation and see where the chips land. Because at the end of the day, the numbers never lie, unless someone's faking them.